Hey guys, welcome to the Athlete Conversation. This is your host and athlete, Conrado Duauer. I'm with me today. I have my very good friend, Callum Johnson. How are you, brother? Good?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming, man. You came all the way here from New York City, so I appreciate you.
Of course.
So tell me, walk me through your early years as an athlete, soccer-wise. Where did you play? You're from England, right? When did you move to the U.S.?
I actually moved a long time ago. Somehow kept the accent, but
Yeah, the accent's intact.
I've been here since about just before 9/11, so around 2000,
Okay.
maybe early 2001. But yeah, so I came to the US. I didn't just start with soccer. I played a lot of sports growing up, as most athletes do.
What sports did you play?
Bizarrely, I was like quite good at wrestling, which is hilarious.
Okay.
And
I've never heard that one
gymnastics.
before.
Gymnastics was a strong suit.
Really?
Yeah, and then basketball and baseball, the American sports.
Any tennis?
No, it's not that easy to play tennis in Manhattan.
No.
Very, very few courts.
Oh, you moved to Manhattan.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes, but then I have 3 older brothers and 2 years apart between each of us,
Mhm.
and by the time I was about 5 or 6, the sport was decided that it was soccer.
That is
So,
soccer.
yeah.
How come? How come it was decided soccer?
Well, my dad always played soccer. We're lifelong Spurs fans in England, and yeah, season tickets.
Yeah.
And I think everyone kind of figured out they were better at soccer than they were at other sports. It was like we had all the soccer balls in the house. We were going playing out in the park, and that was what we all liked. So it was it by 6.
And did your brothers also play?
They did. Yeah.
They play at a high level as well, or?
Yeah. 3 older brothers. They all played. One brother in particular took it like quite seriously, and he played Division 1 soccer as well.
Okay. Hold up. We gotta acknowledge you won a national championship.
Thank you. I did.
So we gotta, guys. This is a legend we're talking to right now.
I know.
So where did you play in college? Just give me the names. Give me what you won, so that the audience is aware of who's speaking right now.
Okay, I'll give a brief background. So I came out of New York Red Bulls Academy, and then I went to Boston College, which was the same school my brother played at. So it was a school that I was familiar with. I knew the coach. I knew the city well, and I knew I really liked it there. So I went to Boston College for 3.5 years. Injured, had a bit of a hip problem, surgery.
What was the hip problem?
Torn labrum.
Me too.
Yeah, see, it's
Got both my labrums torn. I had surgeries for
both
both
is worse
of them.
than one, so that's not great.
You got one torn?
Yeah, just one.
When how old were you? What stage were you?
I would have been it was in between junior year and senior year
Okay.
at BC. So it was that summer.
Oh, at BC.
Yeah, at Boston College.
Okay, so you were already in college.
I was in college and I was going into my last year, and I decided to get it fixed and then redshirt that year at Boston College in order to give myself the opportunity, if I wanted to play elsewhere.
Another year, because you
Yes.
redshirt that year basically.
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
So for those who don't know, if you redshirt a year in the American system, you get an extra year of eligibility in the future.
Yes. So yeah, I had that extra year of eligibility, and I wanted to
Explore your options.
Explore my options, right? Because it's kind of like you dating. You want to kind of see what else is out there, right? Like
I got my girl listening. So
sorry, but I like my girl, but I also, maybe that sounds bad. Maybe take that out. I don't
absolutely.
know.
We'll edit on the.
But yeah. So I reached.
You went on the transfer portal before.
Yes, I went on the transfer portal
After you were done with BC, right? That was after your senior year. You redshirt your senior year.
It was right before.
Okay.
The senior year season started, and I told my coach I'd like to explore my options. Right, I'm not ruling BC out, but I'd like to see what else is out there. And luckily, he was really supportive, and he said, "That's all right. Like, no problem. You see what's out there, and if not, then BC is also a home for you."
And at this point, you were injured.
I was injured. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, when the portal got fortunately quite a lot of interest from schools I'd played against, some schools I'd never played against, and I landed at Clemson, and then
that's a big school, guys. For those who don't know, that's a big school. That's a good option.
Yeah, it was the dream. Clemson, that was the school. I think the most dominant school in the ACC when it comes to soccer in terms of facilities, staff.
What year was this?
This would have been end of 2019. That's
Okay.
when I committed to Clemson, and then I had the whole season 2020 to be at Clemson. But obviously, everyone knows that was the COVID year, and I ended up getting 2 years out of what I thought would have been 1
Yep.
year.
Yep.
So it was pretty unbelievable experience to be able to get 2 extra years. That's why I'm so
Yeah.
old now.
So you redshirted, and on top of that,
I
you
did.
got
I redshirted, and I had my COVID year. So
Yeah.
I left college at 24, but pretty happy with a national championship.
I would say it's worth it, dude. Honestly.
Yeah.
And tell me, how was it? What was different about Clemson? Because you guys won a national championship. So what was different about the team at Clemson that was different from BC or other teams that you played on in the past? What made that team a winning team?
Yeah. I get that question a lot, and it's a really good one because you have to be there to know it, and
Yeah.
it was such a special team, obviously a collective of individuals who were very special. The team was talented, but I think it comes down to the culture. It was a culture led by Coach Noonan.
Culture is a big word. Cultures. I want you to expand on that. I
Yeah,
want you
of
to
course
expand on
we'll
that.
talk about that. But yeah, it was everything from facilities, the staff, how they recruit, their values. That kind of struck me most, as that's what they held as the most important thing. And I knew right away when I visited, like, this is the place I want to be, because it was uncomparable to any other school that I visited. And it was really, as a player, you need a special connection with a coach, and you need to really believe the coach. And I believe my coach there, that what he said was his word, and he held his values at the utmost importance to him.
Okay, and how would he show that on training? On how did he transmit that to his players, right? So what made you believe that he was the one to carry the team forward?
Yeah, well, he didn't contradict himself very often. So his word was pretty final, and when he said something, he meant it. And I think it was a true meritocracy at Clemson, in that if you deserved to play, you played. And that was the most important thing to me when I was being recruited, is I would ask your coach, like, okay, are you playing players based on their scholarship, or are you playing players based on how good they are? And they often tell you, yeah, of course it's, if you're the best player, you play, whatever.
Yeah.
But 99% of the time, that's not true. And they have to justify to some boss or whatever that, like, the player on 100% scholarship is playing and he has to play. But I accepted a low scholarship at Clemson. I wasn't a full scholarship player. They very rarely give that out.
Yeah.
But I believed him, and I thought, you know what, like, if I prove myself every day in training, if I'm the most hardworking guy, and if I think I'm good enough to play, then I'll play. And luckily I did. I played every game that I could have at Clemson.
Oh, you played every game?
Yeah.
Well,
So-
as in what position?
Mostly center midfield, but we had a bit of a forward crisis because we lost 2 players to the MLS in the middle of the season.
Which players?
Grayson Barber and Kamani Smith.
Okay.
So I ended up having to play forward, which, you learn and you go.
Listen, that happens a lot in college. Timo, one of the guy that I just interviewed, he came in as a possible either center back or outside back.
Yeah.
He came in as a center back, and then he found out I was a center back too, so they sent him as outside back. Nah, I'm kidding. He came in for us. He was always going to play as an outside back, and I played center back, and then he ended up playing as a left wing at the end of the season.
Yeah.
He ended up being one of our top scorers. So that happens in college soccer, right?
Yeah, well, flexibility and, adaptability is the most important trait you can have as a incoming recruit, I think.
You think so?
I think so, because of the subbing rule. Like, you can, in college soccer, it's so unique in that you can go, obviously in the first half, if you go out, you can't come back in the first half. But the second half, you can go out and then come back in. Then they used to have overtime. So there's so many opportunities for you to play that if you're a good player and the coach wants to put you on the field, he'll find a position for you.
You find a position for A,
So
100% agree with that.
it's different in the pros, obviously, than it is in college soccer. But I think that's such a good trait to have.
Okay. And it got me through. When did you guys realize at Clemson that you were, okay, we're winning a national championship? You know what I mean? Because that year, that COVID year with Fordham, we actually did very well as well.
Yes, this was 2020.
This was 2020.
Okay.
This was 2020, and I had, funny enough, that was my first year back from my labrum surgeries.
Oh,
so I tore
wow.
both my labrums after my freshman year, right?
Okay.
And I 100% agree with what you just said. I think at our coach at Fordham also does a great job in giving everyone an equal opportunity. And if you show up in training and you do well and you work your butt off, you'll get the opportunity, right? So for me, that was the case. I came in, I didn't play every game my freshman year, but every single training I was giving my all, right? Every tackle I was going 100%, and eventually I got the chance to start, and I ended up playing actually against Rhode Island, our semifinal of the A10. Our captain and center back, Jorgen, he was wearing number 5. He's a very good friend of mine now. He got injured, and he was an all-star player, right? He got defensive player of the year like 3 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
He was a great player. And my coach came up to me and was like, "Yo, can you play?" Because they already knew my injuries. I was like, "Dude, put me in right now." I just dove in, and I went in, freshman, boom. I played 100 minutes because we went to overtime. And dude, by the end, I couldn't run. Like I was running backwards, and I could hear the coach on the other team from running. Yo, play it on his side. You can't run because I would hold. I had a torn labrum, and when you tear your labrums, you also your body kind of goes away. I tore my abdomen as well. And I'm running backwards, holding my abdomen, but we ended up losing by PKs.
Okay,
we tied 0-0. We had an excellent game, but the truth is that he did give us that opportunity of you earn your spot, right? Yeah. So that year we won the A10, and we lost to Marshall. That was a different year, right? When Marshall.
That's when we lost to Marshall.
That's when you lost. Yeah, exactly.
We lost.
Okay,
to, describing my story here. We lost to Marshall in penalties in 2020.
What was it? The final?
No, it was the Sweet 16.
It was the Sweet 16. That was after us.
Yeah. I think they won. Yeah.
Well,
I actually remember that now because we watched film on Marshall versus Fordham, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You saw us, yeah.
So,
see, that game, for example, I played 2 seconds. And it's funny, though, because my coach, Sebas, who I also interviewed on the podcast, he had a bloody nose, and he was playing center back. And that was the year that I came back from injury, as I said. So I didn't get to play that much that year because it was a weird season, right?
Yeah.
We had less games. So I went in, I got the ball. And my first pass, I gave it to the opponent. But I was called off the field. It's actually a pretty funny story. I was called. My coach turns around. He got a nosebleed. He's like, "You, Conrado, go in now."
Yeah.
And I was the go-to guy, right? When we had to defend and stuff. So I went in, I get the ball, and boom, and I give it to the opponent. So it's a funny story. And we ended up losing by golden goal, I'm pretty sure.
Ugh.
But they were a good team, man.
Yeah. That rule's gone now, college.
Yeah, that rule's gone now.
Probably for the best, although it was pretty exhilarating when you won.
Yeah.
And heartbreaking when you lose.
That kind of gave us a bit of hype. It affected us a lot this year, actually. But let's go back to Clemson. Okay, so that year you guys lost to Marshall, and you were on that team as well.
Yes, yeah. So I was on that team. We lost in penalties to Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
Something like the 8th penalty or 9th penalty.
Oof,
so it was
that's rough.
Absolutely devastating. Marshall went on to win it, so fair play to them. You know, I think if you're going to go out, you want to go out to the eventual champions.
Hey, we both did, man.
Exactly.
We both did.
So yeah, and I wasn't sure after that, like whether I'd come back to Clemson because it would have been my 6th year as a college athlete, which is quite a lot. And I wasn't certain, like, I wanted to do another year. I wasn't sure college was for me anymore because I was about to turn 24. And I thought, well, I'm getting a little older than everyone here. Maybe I just give it a shot, the pros, or start working, or whatever it was. But, good friends around me, support system, coaches saying, I think you give it another go. And fortunately I did. I gave it another go. And that was kind of the fuel for the fire for the next season. And no one was happy with the last season and the way it ended.
Of course.
And we had won an ACC championship. We'd won the ACC, the regular season. So it was a success by, maybe traditional standards. But we didn't win the national championship, and we were the number 1 seed. So it was a big letdown.
Yeah. Well, we had the same experience. We won the A10s, and then we ended up losing to the people that won it all. So you chose to come back. right? You
I
chose
did.
to do an extra year.
Yes.
And how did that loss fuel Clemson, right? How did they fuel? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's a different spark, right? Then
Yeah.
the first game comes up in the next season, and you want to crack everyone, and you want to win, right? How did that?
Yeah, I
that
mean,
go
it's almost
about?
as if like it's like the saying going, like you need failure in order to succeed.
Mhm.
So like from the darkest clouds or the storm comes the greatest sunshine, or whatever the saying is.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
probably butchered
It's
that,
always
but-
darkest again.
Yeah.
It's always darkest before the dawn.
Yeah,
That's-
exactly.
yeah,
That's a
absolutely.
way better way of whatever I said. But yeah, like I think it was in the back of everyone's mind. The team we returned was identical to the team we had that past season. So we
Mhm.
didn't lose anyone, and we got some pretty talented freshmen coming in.
Okay.
So we knew we were a stronger team, but we also knew we had a whole season to play. So you can't approach a season. Well, you can. In some ways, we approach the season with the end in mind, right? How are we going to win the national championship? Or not how we're going to win the national championship, but how are we going to earn the national championship? That was how we phrased it.
Okay.
So you begin with the end in mind, but then it's a process. Then you go practice by practice, game by game. You can't focus on the NCAA tournament when you're not even in it. You're so focused on the first game, the first scrimmage, that you can't think about the NCAA tournament. So we were very good at that. We were a very good team at staying in the present moment. And I don't mean just game by game. I mean practice by practice, meeting by meeting, film session by film session. And I think that's what sort of drove us to actually win it in the end.
Wow, you said a lot there. That was beautiful.
Sorry, yeah.
No, that was perfect. That was impeccable. I feel like that really highlights what it means to actually get that far, right? You
Yes.
took it day by day,
Mhm.
right? And let's rewind a little bit. You talked about failure,
Yes.
right? So failing is obviously it's part of life, right? You're
Mhm.
gonna fail at something. You're not gonna be good at everything, right? But how important do you think failure is in terms of soccer and life as well, right? As a student athlete, now you're still pursuing professional soccer, or even if you choose to go in the professional route, I mean, meaning the corporate life.
Yeah.
How important do you think failure is, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's difficult because it's something most people try to actively avoid failure because it doesn't feel good. It doesn't look good, but it's something that's so important. And looking back on my life, I've failed at times. And like, for an example, I got cut from New York Red Bulls Academy when I was 14 or 15. And that, like, looking back, that's failure, right? You didn't make the team. But like, it was in that period, that 2-year period when I wasn't on Red Bulls, that all I was thinking about was, how do I get back on this team? How do I prove to them that they made a mistake? And then luckily my last year, under 18s, Red Bulls, they called me on the phone and they said, we'd love to have you back for our under 18 year. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll do it, because I could train with the first team or whatever it may be. And like, I've failed in my career before, and it sucks looking back on it, but it was obviously those moments where something great came after, and I was fortunate enough to fail, which is kind of ironic to say.
Well, no, that's beautiful, man.
Yeah, thank you.
I feel like that applies to everything in life, though, right?
Yeah.
Because even after, let's say, you want to have your own business, your own podcast, even, right? You'll fail at everything, and without that failure, you can't really improve on yourself, right?
Yes.
So I think it's important to fail, and obviously, I mean, at Fordham, for example, we this year with the OT rule, the overtime rule, they took it out. So we ended up tying a lot of games, and we did have a bit of a failure of a season, right? For our standards.
Yes.
Right? We didn't make the tournament. And a lot of people, you know, it kind of brings you down, but at the same time, you can see it as an opportunity to improve, right? And I was lucky enough to be named the captain of the team my senior year.
Yeah.
And now I'm staying an extra year, and I'm working to see how I can improve my leadership, right? Because when you're first named captain, you're kind of thrown into the fire, right? In a sense of there's a lot of responsibility that comes on your shoulders, and it's an honor to have the responsibility, obviously, but it's something you're not accustomed to, right? And I think that in order to get the success that you've had, you need to have those leadership qualities. Would you agree with me?
Yeah, I think so. And I know what you're saying. In some ways, you almost have to fake it, right? Fake it until you make it, right? It's such a cliche, but it's true. It's like not everyone knows how to be a boss. Not everyone knows how to be a captain, but you just got to give it a go and act with conviction. And then you'll get a little following as long as you're, acting to your values and they're good values. And then you kind of get a little bit of courage for the people around you, and that's the right thing to do.
And you move forward with that.
And you move forward, yeah, exactly.
Okay. And based on that, based on your values and all of what you just said, what would you attribute your personal success to, right? Would it be your values? And if so, what do you value? Do you value winning? Do you value giving your best?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how much personal success I've had, but
I mean,
but whatever it may be. I think the things that I hold most important to myself would be just like give it your all, always.
I agree with that.
You just got to go for it, and it's okay to be uncomfortable. And if you think it's uncomfortable, that means everyone else thinks it's uncomfortable. But you got to be the one that goes for it, and you got to be the one that makes the extra push. But it's difficult. Like, it's not easy, but it's something I enjoy. Luckily, right? I like being competitive. Some people don't really like being competitive, and that's okay. But for me, it's a game, and I like competing, and obviously I like winning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't play soccer.
Absolutely, it comes with competing, comes with winning, and comes with losing as well. Which they're both positives depending how you look at them, right? Which brings me back to being able to take this risk as an international student, right? I know you're not per se an international student athlete, but let's talk about being an international, right? Coming from another country into the US, you're taking that risk and you're putting yourself in that uncomfortable situation in order to be able to grow in the future.
Yes.
Right? So what would you say are the benefits of being a student athlete, right? Of being able to practice the sport that you love at a very high level, right? You played it at the highest level possible in regards to soccer, in regards to college as well. So what would you say is, the benefits that brings it all together, right? Being able to play the sport you love and get the education at the same time.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, I'll start with the end there. The unique thing about college sports, right, is, which isn't like England or other European countries or wherever it may be, is that you can combine athletics at the highest level with education at the highest level, which is, like, for me, is perfect because I wasn't willing to give up education yet in order to pursue an athletic career. So for people like me and you, that's great, right? You can study what you want to study and play at a high level. I think additionally, you're obviously surrounded by different cultures in a sports environment, especially a sport like soccer. You're going to meet people from all over the world, different backgrounds, different socioeconomic classes, and that's the best way of learning. I mean, no matter what math class you do, history class, meeting people from different backgrounds, different values, there's no replacement for that.
Absolutely.
One of the other things I would say is that, like, I went into college with an immediate group of friends, right? Let's say you're a normal freshman at Boston College and you show up the first day. You don't know anyone but your roommate. And that's the guy you met earlier that day. So I went into college, whatever it is, 2 weeks early, and I had friends, 29 friends, all on the team. And that is such an advantage because it's not an easy thing to walk into college.
Absolutely. But you knew them beforehand?
No, I met them in preseason.
And then they became
my friends. It's like,
absolutely.
Because you're going to spend all day, every day with them. So
absolutely,
they're going to be your friends and you're probably going to have a great time together.
Absolutely. I mean, dude, I went to Fordham and my freshman year I didn't know anyone and my class became my best friends. You know what I mean? Like, now I can count on them with everything, which is the beauty that gives you being such a part of an athletic team and so on. But how did that change when you did the switch to Clemson?
Yeah.
Were they also your family in the same way that Boston College was?
That was a bit harder. So I was older. So I was going in as a senior or a grad student at Clemson. So it's less than about, I don't care about these guys liking me.
Oh, yeah.
I care more about them respecting me, right? So when I was 18 or 17 going into Boston College, I was like, you know what? I want these guys to like me. But when I was a senior going into Clemson, I was like, no, I want these guys to respect me. I want them to think I'm a good player, and I'm going to lead them to any sort of success we might have, hopefully. So I didn't care about friends. I got to be honest. But they took me in, which I appreciate, and they made me feel welcome. And I reciprocated, and I was very thankful for them taking me in. And I made a few great friends that obviously I still talk to today. But yeah, it was an important transition from BC to Clemson because it was different.
Yeah, I bet it was very different. And how did you gain that respect? How did you finally gain that respect?
Well, I talked to my head coach about this at the time at Clemson, and I told him that was my goal. I want to earn these guys' respect. And he said, okay, you're going to have to do that every day in training. You're going to have to be the hardest working guy. You're going to have to arrive early. You're going to have to leave late, whatever it is. You're going to have to be vocal on the field. You're going to have to tackle harder than anyone else. That's the quickest way to earn people's respect on the field. And that's how you earn their trust too. And trust builds friendship. So I credit him to that.
Yeah, he took it too hard.
Yes, I did.
Did you play that way before Clemson?
I did, but I got an extra edge, a little bit of a bite about me at Clemson, and coach helped me there with that. You know, I went a little bit from being the nice guy to no, I'm going to get this done guy.
Was that when you decided that pursuing a professional career in your sport was an option? Was that when you were like, okay, listen, this is what I want to do. I want to pursue it. I'm going to give it my all.
I wish it was that easy, but I didn't. I didn't know I was going to play professionally. Like, I wish I could have said, you know, when I was 6, I knew I wanted to be a professional soccer player. Yeah. And that, like, that was in the back of my mind, right? I've always, like, in those school assignments when you're 6, what do you want to do? I said professional soccer player. That's because I didn't know any other jobs. I didn't know what else to say. But, like, I tried not to think about the future when I was in college. I tried to stay in the present and decide what happens, right? If I can be the best player I can be today, tomorrow, the next day, then whatever happens, whatever path is meant to happen, will happen to me. And so I didn't decide I was going to be a professional soccer player at Clemson. I decided I was going to be the best version of myself I could be, the best player I could be. And if that's good enough, then I'll do it. And luckily it was good enough, and I got drafted by LA Galaxy. And that's when you say, I'm going for this. I'm going for this. I'm not holding back. There's no half-assing it anymore. Like, I'm fucking going for it.
Absolutely. And dude, how was that? How was that experience?
It was
drafted?
Good. It was good. It was a little bit tainted by injury, unfortunately. That pulled both my hamstrings twice, which is a bit of a disaster. And it's tough to talk about because that was a hard time.
Absolutely.
But as we talked about earlier, like failure,
it's part of success, man.
Exactly. It's part of success, and it's the first step towards success. So I'm hoping that I can build on this and find a place, a new home for next year, and enjoy soccer still.
Absolutely. And dude, even if let's say soccer is behind you, let's say you choose to let it go and pursue other aspects of life, because I mean, even if you made it to the highest possible level, you'll be playing until, I mean, unless you're Cristiano Ronaldo, let's say max like 40 years old, which is uncommon, keeping yourself at that such a high level until you're 40.
Yeah.
After soccer, listen, you got your life. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's another beauty that comes with being a high competing athlete, right? And it just so happens that college athletics brings in that type of person, right? Someone who likes competing, someone who likes overdoing themselves, and those qualities, and I keep mentioning this in all my podcasts. I say the same thing: the qualities that you develop as a student athlete, playing in college, playing at the high level, training every day, are qualities that you carry with you until you die. You know, so after, even if you don't pursue soccer, you will still be the same man with the same character in all aspects of life, which I believe will lead you to succeed in whatever you choose to try on, right? It's just a matter of finding that what you like to do, you know what I mean? So maybe if it's not soccer, maybe it's being an agent, maybe it's working for an organization that deals with soccer, maybe it's, you know, finance. It just really depends on what you like and what you enjoy. Maybe it's sales.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, your competitive sales might be for you, technology sales. But I think being part of the athletic team kind of gives you that opportunity, and it opens up the door. And especially coming to the US from outside the US
Yes.
opens up this opportunity. You know what I mean? Like, we wouldn't be able to have this conversation anywhere else.
Yeah.
Right? If you're in England, if you're in anywhere in Europe, anywhere in South America, you don't really have the option of, okay, I'm gonna win a national championship with my college in Argentina, for example.
Yeah.
I'm gonna win a national championship and then discuss if I want to go to Wall Street or if I want to make it pro. You know what I mean? It's just something very unique to the United States, and it's something very unique that it brings in this possibility of endless doors. To the person who's willing to take that risk and willing to come into the US.
Yeah.
Right? Would you agree with that?
Definitely. I think you learn a lot of valuable skills at college, time management being one of them.
Absolutely. That's massive anywhere in life.
Yeah, I think you could make an argument like being a collegiate athlete, a Division I college athlete or whatever it is harder than whatever your day-to-day job is after. I mean, absolutely. I don't know, because my day-to-day job is soccer right now, professional soccer. So I don't know. Which is
pretty hard in of itself.
But of course, you learn a lot of valuable skills, and I think that's why it's such a good route for so many young players who don't quite know yet what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
They like soccer, but maybe they're not ready to drop out of school at 16.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: it's such a big risk that you're taking, right? Because if you're playing in an academy in Europe or in South America, it's even riskier. I would argue. And you're 16, you got to make the jump, 16, 17, 18, you got to make the jump. You got to decide whether, okay, do I use my abilities as an athlete to get a scholarship in a country like the US, which brings you this opportunity, because nowhere else brings you the same opportunity of combining both, right? So do I risk this possibility and try to make it pro when I know the 0.00% makes it all the way, right? And even makes it all the way to a point that they can make a living out of their sport, right? Because it's something, there's a difference between making it in Europe, you're a professional player, and then making it to the top teams in Europe, for example, right? It's a very big jump. And this is when you have to decide, listen, do I risk it all? And I think that decision obviously varies from person to person. And I think it depends on where the player has come from, right?
Yes.
If their family has been very poor their entire life and this is how they see their future, then they will be able to take that risk, right? And maybe they have that motivation in the back of their mind. But maybe someone who doesn't have that upbringing, he doesn't have that drive. Yeah. And then once you put yourself out there, you're competing with people who have nothing to lose, right?
I know.
So it's very complicated, and making that decision of okay, I'm still gonna pursue pro, but I'm gonna pursue it in a different way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the best education I can get. I'm gonna meet people from all over the world, and eventually, if I do well, because if you do well, you did well, you won a national championship. If you do well, you will have your chances, right? Yeah. You will get scouted. You will be able to play for an MLS team, and from there you will see what happens. And if that doesn't work out, you have behind you the 4 years of education, the thousands of people that you met, the networks that you made, the school that you have behind. You know what I mean? You're not naked.
Yeah, you got a lot to fall back on.
You have a lot to fall back on, which otherwise you wouldn't, right? You would have to pursue pro. You get injured, for example, which is very common. Yeah. It's very common. It's a high risk. You get injured, and once you get injured, it's like, okay, we can't play you right now. You know what I mean? So if you get healthy, good. If you don't get healthy, what do you do if you don't have something to fall back on, right? So yeah, I think that's a reality for most athletes who are looking to play professionally. But now you're done with college athletics. You had a great experience. You made it to the next level. You played pro. What are you doing now? Are you training? What does your day-to-day kind of look like?
Yeah, well, I mean, I try to keep. I'm obviously in the off season, so I try to keep how do I keep soccer fresh? I'm coming up a 10-month season where burnout is a feasible option for anyone doing any job. So how do I keep soccer fresh in my mind, enjoyable? So I just sort of vary training methods, right? One day I'll do the Peloton bike at home or whatever it is. One day I'll play 7-a-side at the park, which is decently high level. And then another day I'll go on a run with my brother or kick around, train it with him. I try to be creative in how I train for soccer, right? I do yoga, like today I did yoga. So it's different ways that are benefiting me as a soccer player, but maybe not directly training on my own or with a team. So I enjoy that, and the off season is a time where like it gives you a chance to
connect with yourself again.
Connect
right?
with yourself, right? Evaluate your season, how you did last season, what you want to improve in, what went well, what didn't go well. So I enjoy the off season as a chance to better myself.
Okay, and how important do you think is keeping soccer like fresh in your mind, right? Because I think like overworking and outburning yourself, is that the term you use?
Yeah, just burning out.
Burning out
Yeah.
is very common, right? Because you are competing at a high level, and that puts a stress on both your body and your mind, right?
Yeah.
So how important do you think being able to kind of disconnect is to maintain yourself at that high level?
Definitely.
right?
And I think the first thing I always do is I take 2 weeks off. At the end of the season,
Okay.
I say, I'm not looking at a ball, not touching a ball.
Are you
That's-
still working out, or
Yeah.
you
Well, I'll do
What do you
light
mention?
training, jog, things that I enjoy. Go on a bike ride on the beach, whatever. This was in LA, not in New York. No beaches here. Sorry.
Yeah, it's beautiful, though, right?
but yeah, like I try to disassociate from the sport for 2 weeks, completely reset my mind, refresh, and then you start to work into more soccer specific training, and that's mainly to like preserve the game itself. Like, soccer is a game, and you want to enjoy it. It should always be fun. That's the most important thing. And if you're not careful and all you think about and do and play every day is soccer, then you lose that joy. And I think that's the biggest shame, when players no longer find joy in the game. So I'm pretty careful and conscious of that in terms of how I train.
Okay, and at Clemson, and both at BC and Clemson, were you able to keep that joy throughout the season, or?
I was, because that season is like a sprint. That, as you know, college
Yeah.
soccer is a sprint. It's from preseason, let's say August 1st, to end of the tournament December 12th, if you're lucky. So it's 4 months, 5 months, whatever it is. So there you can just go for it, blitz the season, and you can enjoy it. But if it's a little bit longer, like a professional season, 10 months, then you go through waves. You go up and down a little bit. And there are
Absolutely.
peaks and valleys, whatever.
Injuries come into play as well.
Injuries come into play. So I was lucky enough where I was able to enjoy it in college. But there are times it's hard, of course.
Absolutely.
2
man.
games a week, you're tired. You got a algebra test, whatever. I don't know, calc test. Algebra might have been in high school. I don't know. But
I struggle with both of them.
maybe I
don't
took
worry.
algebra in college. I can't remember. I wasn't genius. But yeah, so burnout is
a real thing.
is a factor. Yeah, and a lot of people can go through that, but I think you just got to always come back to, it's a game. Why do I play this? Because I enjoy it. I don't have to play this. This is a decision every day to play this game.
Absolutely, man.
So yeah.
Okay, that's I think that's very valuable for everyone to listen to, and we have to end soon. But what
Yes.
would your advice be, right, to both someone who's moving into from a different country to a new team, or both maybe a freshman who's from the U.S. and just recently became a freshman and he's new to the team, right, and this is a new experience for them. What would your advice be, both for freshman year and as a career as a whole?
Yeah, I think that's a really hard question.
Yeah.
I think the advice for a freshman is be patient, but also be hungry.
I agree.
So you have to have a balance, right? You can't just sit in the back corner and let the seniors take over the team. You got to show
want
initiative. You got to want to play, but you can't be greedy. You always have to put the team first before yourself, right? We had this acronym, which may have been a little bit corny at Clemson, but it was team, right? So together, everyone achieves more. You know, it sounds a little corny.
No, but when
when
it's
you
the
live
truth.
it every day and people buy into it and it's a team first culture, then it works. And, you know, we had that problem. Some freshmen at Clemson or BC, they didn't buy into the culture, and usually they end up transferring out.
So you think the players that end up transferring out is because they don't buy into the culture of the team?
Yeah, it's either that
Yeah.
or they don't align with the head coach's vision. And that can be fair, that cannot be, you know.
Depends on player to player.
You got to get along well with the head coach. But I also think you got to be very careful if you transfer right away after freshman year. You got to give it a few years. You got to be dead certain if you're leaving, you're leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, be patient, be hungry, and then I like to always say, you know, you can either live with the pain of discipline or you can live with the pain of regret. So live a disciplined lifestyle, organized, focus on what you want to get out of it, put the team first, and you'll have a great career.
You have a great career.
Yeah.
Well, that was Callum. That was beautiful. I want to thank you for coming on the podcast, actually, and thank you guys for listening to the Athlete Conversation. That was a great conversation. I think a lot of people are gonna find a lot of value in that, both current college players and people looking to come from outside the States. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a great time.
Absolutely.